Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Professor Ming's Strategic Insights. A piece of news released by the Washington Post caused some commotion not only in Taiwan but also in the world. The news says that the Russians promised the Communist Chinese, to help them train paratroops and to teach them how to airdrop tanks from airplanes. If the news is true, that means it will greatly enhance Chinese capability to invade Taiwan, and that also means that the military cooperation between Moscow and Beijing is increasingly closer. The papers and documents obtained by the Washington Post are provided by a hacktivist group. They call themselves the Black Moon. Actually, beginning in April this year, April 2025, this Black Moon organization began releasing some confidential information about countries of axis of evil. And Washington Post also says that according to the documents, the Russians promised to sell to the Chinese PLA some heavy equipment, such as amphibious assault vehicles, anti-tank guns, and the so-called low-velocity airdrop systems. And the Russian experts will also train the Chinese paratroops how to use these heavy weapons and how to operate the advanced combat commanding system. Actually, back in July, on July the 22nd to be exact, the Black Moon organization made an announcement on the X, claiming they have secured a document package which revealed that a Russian company has signed a contract with a Chinese company to make the deal. The Russian company is the so-called Russo-Boron Export, and the Chinese company is the CETC International Limited. And the date of the signature of the contract was on April the 26th, 2021. That means more than 4 years ago. Actually, we noticed that in early August, there were similar reports from Deutsche Welle, Germany's international broadcaster. You may still remember, we have repeatedly reminded you that on March 22nd, 2023, more than 2 years ago, as they finished the state dinner, Putin walked Xi Jinping to his sedan, and all of a sudden Xi Jinping stopped and turned to Putin and said, "An unprecedented change unseen in a century is coming, and I wish to promote this change with you, Mr. Putin." And Putin replied, "I agreed." So by so doing, what does Putin have in mind for his strategic planning? The first is, of course, if you help me out with invading Ukraine, then I'll help you out with invading Taiwan. Back in April 2021, yes, April 2021, Russia was conducting a military exercise in between Russia and Ukraine. The eastern part of Ukraine was 100,000 troops strong. The exercise lasted for 1 full month. People were very anxious to see what was Putin's attempt. Would he attack Ukraine or would he not? So people were so anxious about it. After 1 month, Putin pulled his troops. He withdrew his troops. The entire world felt relieved, but I was nervous because I detected something. I felt that both Russia and China, Communist China, were forming a strategic posture. They were forming what I call a two-horn posture, threatening both the United States and the European countries. That's a Chinese expression. In English, we'll probably call it a two-pronged approach or strategic pincer posture. And I remember very clearly, I was invited to a talk show on television. I said it in public. This is a two-horn strategy, meaning the two horns of a bull, with Russia and Ukraine on the one side and Communist China and Taiwan on the other. It is not only a challenge to the international order, it will probably eventually lead to a world war, the World War III. That's what I said. The question is, will the Russian ambition stop at Ukraine only? Probably not. Let me tell you, Moldova, Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, the list can go on if Putin goes unchecked. And I'm sure you must have noticed that very recently that Russian drones have intruded airspace of countries like Poland, Romania, Denmark, and Estonia. It is not only reasonable but also imaginable that the Russians would love to see Chinese communists either to harass or even to invade Taiwan, because strategically it will attract both the United States and European countries' attention and shift their attention away from the Ukraine battlefield, and to alleviate Russia's pressure on the battleground and also in diplomatic circle. Okay, that's Russia's strategic planning. What about Communist China? What kind of strategic planning they have? I think it is also in their interest to see this strategic pincer posture form. So that means the war in Ukraine will last as long as possible, and that's in their interest. Strategically, it'll attract attention from the United States and the European countries, thereby to reduce Beijing's pressure in the Taiwan Strait area and also in international diplomatic circle. And furthermore, if opportunity offers itself, it'll launch a full-scale invasion of Taiwan. And if that should happen, they would have to stop the United States and Japan from intervening into the Taiwan Strait scenario. Using Chinese military jargon, it is called 主援打点. In English, it's roughly translated as blocking reinforcement and attacking the main target, 主援打点. And if that should succeed, that means that Communist China is able to drive the United States out of Asia. And with the help of some inside job from inside United States society, then they can undermine the strength of the United States. And eventually they can topple the United States and eventually challenge the international hegemony. You think this is crazy? They don't think so. I told you that before. Some of the Chinese communists sincerely believe that they can eventually defeat the United States because according to the official ideology, the United States is the evilish imperialist. So that means Trump's idea of forming an alliance with Russia or with Moscow to tackle Beijing is very difficult, if not at all impossible. And before I forget, let me say a few words about North Korea, Kim Jong-un's strategic planning and this whole thing. He's now sending weapons and soldiers to Ukraine, not only to help invading Ukraine, to make some chaos, but to let his soldiers to acquire some on-site experience about modern warfighting, because this is something new. There's something unknown to them in the past. And again, if opportunity offers itself, it'll attack South Korea with no hesitation at all. And of course, it is a part of a challenge to the current international order. So the question is, how does the international society deal with Communist China, Russia, and North Korea? Let's learn some lessons from the Second World War. During the Second World War, Japan invaded China for many years, and Italy invaded Ethiopia, and Germany, Nazi Germany, incorporated Austria. They all went without punishment. So that encouraged bigger ambition, bigger expansion, and then eventually leading to the Second World War. And today, Russia is invading Ukraine, and North Korea is offering help, ammunition, missiles, and fighting units. And Beijing is offering dual-use equipment, weapon parts, oil money, plus diplomatic support. And on September the 3rd, when Xi Jinping was standing on the grandstand to review his military parade, with Putin standing on his right-hand side and Kim Jong-un to his left, they were actually sending a very clear message to the entire world. They are joining hands to challenge the international order. So to conclude, let me remind you, the cognitive warfare has already begun, with China, Communist China, launching the cognitive warfare against Taiwan, against the United States, Japan, and to most European countries, with Russia attacking Ukraine, attacking the United States, and of course, attacking the European countries, and with North Korea attacking South Korea and Japan. One final question. When will they fire the first real shot to trigger the World War III? And I think that's all I want to share with you today. I hope you like it. And please share it with your friends and subscribe to our program. Do remember to click the icon bell to get the simultaneous notification. And that's all for today. I'll see you next time.